Islam, 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 and we are live. We are live right here on Let's Think Podcast. I'm your host, Sheikh 7, Islam L. I rise, giving all thanks and perfect praises unto Allah, highest honors to his holy prophet, honors to the forerunner, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, honors to my leadership, L. Portis L. Honors to his wife, his Sheikh sister, M. Portis L. And honors to his administration. Honors to our guest, Brother Eric Johnson there. Honors to the listening audience. Honors, honors to everyone participating in a comprehensive program of uplifting fallen humanity. And yes, our brother and our friend, my comrade, Brother Jarvis McGriff, he'll be tapping in a little late. But without further ado, again, we have our brother Eric Johnson back. Um, he gave you a little opening in the last show. He brought a couple things to the table, and he felt it necessary that he come back and demonstrate a measure and make his point clear. And I must say, he brings us some very, very critical and interesting points, just in dialogue that we have had. And I'm pretty sure he'll make it plain today. For everybody in the chat who will come into the chat, I ask you, please hit the like button as you come in. Hit that like button. Hit that like button that places Let's Think Podcast into the algorithm. Um, and without me forgetting, also, as you saw in the intro, please go shop Fez Dealer. Please go shop with the Fez Dealer. Get your urban Islamic experience with the Fez Dealer. Um, what we got going on today, brother Eric? Islam, how the brother doing?
Islam, all is well. I rise, give perfect praises to Allah, honors to his divine prophet, Noble Jew Ali. Today I wanted to get into chapter 77, Surah Mursalat, chapter 77 of the Holy Koran of Mecca.
Heavy chapter. Heavy chapter, brother. Heavy chapter.
The title of this chapter in English is called The Emissaries. The Emissaries. When you look at or look up the word emissary, it says someone who is sent with a specific task, and it says usually a diplomatic person. It says the actual definition from the Webster's dictionary of emissary is a person sent on a special mission, usually as a diplomatic representative. This is an emissary, al-mursalat. When you look at most Qurans, they're translating it as winds or referring to it as winds. Now, it's not past an emissary being any act of nature, be it winds, rains. Messages come in very different ways for us. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
When you talk about an emissary, the word mursalat, when you talk about an emissary is more like a missionary.
A missionary.
Let me explain. You have the root word rasul, which everyone knows is messenger. Rasulullah, Rasul. Okay. When you put mu in front of any noun, it becomes
A definitive now.
like a pronoun in the Arabic language. I'll give you an example. We have you have salat, and you got the person that's doing the salat is called the musalli.
Okay.
Okay. You have the adhan, and you have the person that's calling the adhan called the mu'adhin.
Mm.
Whenever you have the mu or the mo in front of the verb, it becomes the person that's in the action of doing that. You got
Mm.
salam and you got musalam. See what I mean? Whenever you put
Exactly.
mu in front of that word. So when you put murasul, that's one who is given the message. When you say mursalat and mursalin in the Quran in Surah 36, verse 3, it says, Innaka la minal mursalin. Truly you are from the messengers. And it's
Mm.
referring to Muhammad. Truly you are from the messengers. Innaka la minal mursalin. Al mursalin is the messengers. One of the names of Muhammad is Imam al Mursaleen, the leader of the messengers.
Mm.
So you got Mursalat, Mursaleen, and Mursalat. Mursaleen is the messenger, and the Mursalat is the emissary of the messenger, like the
Mm.
missionary of the prophet.
Mm.
It's parallel to that. Mursalat and Mursaleen, you know, and that's also plural. That's also plural, as hinted to in the surah. Now, one thing we want to know that it is a Meccan surah. Mursalat is a Meccan surah, and the way you tell the difference between Meccan surahs and Medina surahs, as we're talking about the Holy Koran of Mecca, the way you distinguish the Meccan surahs is they always have the short ayats. It's the short verses, and they mostly focus on the afterlife.
Mm.
And that's one of the themes of this surah, Surah Mursalat. And it's also um, like gives oaths and affirmations
Mm.
in the Meccan verses, and you'll see that the Medinan verses are the longer. The Medina chapters are the longer ayats, the longer verses, like your
Mm.
Baqarah, your Imran, uh, those big stores. So you'll find most of the Meccan stores towards the back of the Quran. Okay. And the themes, you have in ayats 1 through 7, you got 5 oaths, and you got 2 affirmations, description, and then ayat 15 is repeated 10 times in the surah.
Mm.
This is also similar to another surah, chapter 55, Surah Rahman, the Most Gracious, where where an ayat is repeated, which is the favors of your Lord will you deny, is repeated 11 times.
Mm.
So when you look at Surah 77 and Surah 55, they both reflect each other.
Mm.
Okay. Now in Surah Mursalat, when it starts out with the first oath, which is Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, وَالْمُرْسَلَاتِ عُرْفًا, which means by the emissaries sent in succession, sent one after another.
Mm.
Now,
Delivered.
emissaries, remember, emissary is a missionary of the prophet.
Mm-hmm.
وَالْمُرْسَلَاتِ عُرْفًا, by the emissaries sent one after another. And then it's another oath. فَالْأَسِفَاتِ أَسْفًا, by those emissaries storming turbulently, by those emissaries that's storming turbulently.
Yeah.
Then it's another oath, وَنَاشِرَاتِ نَشْرًا, by those emissaries scattering far and wide. And another oath, فَالْفَرِقَاتِ فَرْقًا, and those who differentiate right from wrong. Farqati farqa.
Mm.
Then the last oath, falmulqiyati dhikra, and those who bring the reminder,
Zikr.
and
Remembrance.
those who bring the dhikra, the reminder. So this is telling you that this is not just winds, that this mursalat is more than just what they're translating as in most English texts. That's why you see winds in parentheses and in quotations, because mursalat is not the Arabic word for wind. They're just using that as an example. An actual mursalat is anybody that's bringing glad tidings, anybody that's speaking on truth, love, true peace, freedom, and justice.
You're likening to the four winds. Mm. Mm.
So,
What's that?
so, so by those emissaries unleashed in succession, storming turbulently far and wide, separating decisively, delivering the dhikr, the reminder or the message,
Mm.
excusing or warning. Surely what you are promised will happen.
Mm.
And I think we have in our lessons about, even when we open up in our meetings, that Allah's judgment is now on, but the weak can comprehend it not.
Exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And the next ayat says, and when the sky is fractured and the mountains are blown away, and the messengers are alerted for their time, until which day is it deferred? And it says, Fi Yaumil Fasl, until the day of decision, or the day of judgment, or the day of, they say Yamul Qiyam, that the day of standing. Qiyam means to stand. The day of standing is what Yamul Qiyam actually means. But Yamul Fasl, the day of judgment, the day of decision. And it says, Wama adraka ma Yamul Fasl, and what will make you know what the day of decision is. In ayat 15, it says, Wailu yawma idhin lil mukazzibin. Woe that day to the deniers. Denial been the fall of many civilizations.
Yes, sir.
This ayat, Wailu yawma'idhin lil mukaththibin, is repeated 10 times in this surah. Woe on that day to the deniers. We even have where we just read where people on in the meeting where people on our side that thought it was a joke and was unreal and
Mm.
hmm,
That's a fact.
hmm,
That's a fact. Yeah, that's a fact. Until they found
woe
out.
that day to the deniers. Wailu yawma'idhin lil mukazzibin.
Mm,
In that next ayat 16, he says, did we not destroy the ancients? Hmm.
mm, mm.
See, when Allah asks a question in the Quran, that's for us to all ponder on and think about.
Yeah, that's the truth. That is the truth. That is the absolute truth.
It says, then we succeeded them with others. And this is how we deal with the guilty. Wailu yawma'idhin lil mukaththibin. Woe that day to the deniers.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Hmm.
Denier.
See, Allah have a way to speaking to your soul and to your spirit.
Yes, sir.
And if
And then,
that
and
is on and if that is on repeat, that you know 10 ayats, if you know that. Wailu yawma'idhin lil mukazzibin. Woe that day to the deniers.
mm,
He says, did we not create you from an insignificant fluid
mm, mm.
and then lodged it in a secure place? Of course, we know we're talking about the
Mm-hmm.
semen
What?
in the womb. We're talking about the semen in the womb. Did we not create you from an insignificant fluid and then lodged it in a secure place for a known term? And we measured precisely. We are the best to measure. Woe that day to the deniers.
Mm. A great and lawful day. Whew. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We read about that day quite often in our Moorish doctrine. You know, whether ones see it or whether ones can take the pieces and place them together and get and create a concrete or a solidified picture for mental picture for themselves is one thing, but our holy prophet most definitely, illustrated these things in what he considered to be, you know, the Americanized um Oriental
I
idea.
definitely,
Indeed.
definitely.
Yes, sir.
And he
Pardon,
says,
pardon me, I ain't want to get in your way. Pardon me.
did we not make the earth a homestead for the living and the dead,
Mm.
and set on it lofty mountains, and given you pure water to drink. We're not even talking about salt water versus pure water in the ratio and what's provided naturally for us, because we couldn't survive off salt water.
No, sir.
And the next ayat is Wailu yawma'idhin lil mukazzibin. Woe on that day to the deniers. Most civilizations, ancient civilizations, that's all it took for them to be destroyed and not even know any signs of their traces.
Right.
Simply because the prophet came to them and they denied him.
Mm. Mm. Just think about where we would be. Yo, wow. Yo, wow. Just thinking about them, they make you question life itself. Most
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, because we gotta think about where we were before we had knowledge of self, knowledge of anything.
Yes, sir. And I must say about myself, I was in a pretty bad condition. I was just building with my significant other just a few minutes ago about their ordeal right there, man, and just evaluating my thinking at that particular time in conjunction with or in contrast with how I am today, because I most definitely can say and honestly say about myself that I'm most definitely not the person that I was then, now. So and I've only changed for the better. So alhamdulillah, mashallah. I'm all grateful. Praise be to Allah. I'm all grateful. And honor, highest honors to His holy prophet for bringing me, this everlasting gospel. Islam.
Islam. Yeah, yeah, myself too, man. I mean, I came up in Islam early, but man, I had my street life
Oh
still
yeah.
as a teen, and as a early 20s, man. I mean, I did 6 years.
Mm.
So
Brother,
that
one day
was
is enough. So
2000 to 2005.
yes, sir.
Uh,
We know, as me and you both know, even one day is enough. You know,
uh,
one day is enough.
if you're smart, it's enough. If you're
Yes, sir.
smart, it's enough.
Yes, sir.
It definitely is.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And but the following ayat, it says, "Woe that day to the deniers." It says, "Proceed to what you used to deny. Now, proceed to a shadow of three different masses. A shadow
Mm.
of three different masses, yet offering no shade." Now, don't we have something about the shadow of our lower selves?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Most definitely. Mm. Yes, most definitely. Yes, sir. Yeah. And
It says it's sheep.
that particular part of man became a foe. That man must fight.
Right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It says that it shoots sparks as castles, as if they were yellow camels.
Islam.
Islam.
Islam. And it says, woe on that day to the deniers. And this is a day when they will not speak and they will not be allowed to apologize. Woe, wailu yawma'idhin lil mukazzibin. Woe on that day to the deniers, those who reject. And I find it intriguing that it ends with, in what message after this will they believe in? Now I said last show that Drew Ali gave us the Holy Koran of Mecca, the Great Quran of Muhammad. He didn't give us anything after that, as far as literary works from what we would say the Middle East. He ends that with saying the actual word in there is fabi ayi hadithi ba'du yu'minun. It says, in what message and what hadith after this Quran will they believe in?
Mm.
Now you have today thousands of Muslims, man, that follow other hadiths outside of after that came after the Quran.
So in your humble opinion, wouldn't you say that the Quran is now giving us foresight of these particular things?
And not only in this ayat, but that's a very key ayat right there,
Yes,
giving
sir.
us telling us that in the later days people would make up things, make up stories, fabricate
Mm.
stories, and
Mm.
even and I recall the ayat. I can't remember the actual verse, but it says, "Woe to those who write the book with their own hands and say that this is from Allah."
Mm.
This
That's
is what all of Bukhari and Muslim and this is what all of them have done. And there's other sayings that Muhammad forbade people to do that. The only thing that he wanted written from him was verses from the Quran.
mm.
He didn't want people writing about his daily habits and how he did this and how he did that.
Because I'm pretty sure it was not to be worshipped or deified.
Yeah, I mean, we have the Holy Quran of Mecca. We we don't we don't want to attach ourselves to anything else after that. You know, that's what our authority points us to, and our nationality card points us to. You know, and that's why I wanted to go over this sword because of Mursalat. What Mursalat actually is a missionary. You know,
Islam. I know I'm new to the chat. What was the question that was asked to get you to this point here? Or you just dialoguing?
He just dialoguing about chapter
well,
67 of the Holy Quran of Mecca.
Islam.
Yes, sir. And what I
chapter
find
77, chapter Mursalat, Mursalat and Mursaleen. So explaining how the root word is Rasul, um, and how Mursalat is a messenger, and Mursalin is a messenger, and Mursalat is a emissary of the messenger. Like we have on our affidavit, a missionary of the prophet.
To anoint and appoint and
So
consecrate.
chapter 77, when it says al Mursalat, it's talking about the emissary of the prophet, and or the emissary of the messenger. You see what I mean? Like the missionary of the prophet.
Okay. Okay. I'm with you.
You know, I wanted to basically drive home the first 7 ayats, 1 through 7 of that chapter, and
Mm.
verse 15, because verse 15 is repeated 10 times in that surah. So that's basically what I was going over.
Okay. Okay.
So, question to you, bro. I have a question. And everybody that's in the chat, if you have any questions for the brother, especially those of you who are Quranic scholars or consider yourself to be Quranic scholars and knowledgeable in the field of Arabiya, dialogue with the brother. He's here. The floor is open. And if you want to dialogue, super chat your questions. And then shortly, if you want to jump on the screen, we can just drop the link in the chat and you can come up and ask your questions. However, I have a question. When you speak of missionaries, right? See, in this, and I'm gonna play, and I'm not even gonna say that. Play anything, but I'm gonna stand in the position of one who would say, well, that's speaking of missionaries of Prophet Muhammad and not anyone else, and you know, there is no prophets after Muhammad. What would you have to say to that?
Well, I mean, we're not the only Muslims that believe that prophethood is after or still open. There's narrations in Bukhari that says that the doors of prophethood, the last 2 doors of prophethood remain open, and that's visions, good visions, and good dreams. Now, we're
Mm,
talking about good visions, and you're talking about visionary. Nobody had a better vision than True Ali. It's not for us. Nobody had a better vision for us than him. I mean, you can put that against anybody else's theories. Now, we talk about prophethood after Muhammad. There's a statement of Aisha. There's a statement of Aisha that says, "Say he is the seal of the prophet, but do not say he is. There's no prophet after him."
I
So
do.
Aisha, the wife of of Muhammad, she said that. That's she's reported to have said that. Say he is the seal of the prophets, but do not say there is no prophet after him. And then some of the Ahmadiyya scholars have tried to say that this is in reference to Jesus returning, right?
Mm,
And
mm,
what they say is that what is meant by that is that no prophet would come with a new divine law
mm,
after Muhammad,
mm.
which lines up with our doctrine under the divine law, the Holy Koran of Mecca, love, truth, peace, and justice. So what
Mm.
they really mean is to say that there's nobody that's going to come that won't acknowledge the faith, that won't acknowledge the great Quran of Muhammad and propagate the faith of Muhammad.
And don't you? And with that statement, I think it's quite interesting that we're. It's just been publicly recognized that Prince Charles hosted um, an event at his home for Muslims during the month of Ramadan, and now ones are now calling into question his title as defender of the faith. So, with you saying that, I find that quite interesting that is now a topic of discussion.
That is interesting that you say that because I didn't. I had to read up on that thing.
Oh yeah, go and look at it. Yeah,
Yeah,
go
that
and
sounds
look.
like an interesting read right there.
Oh
Let's
yeah,
see.
oh yes sir, oh yes sir. It most definitely is, bro. It most definitely is. And now, honestly, ones are starting to suspect that he's an undercover Muslim.
I mean, he always been his own man. I mean, according to what I done seen on TV, he
Okay.
always been his own man and leaned a different way. So
Mm-hmm.
you know,
I
you
mean,
know,
yeah.
like they say,
But
once you get an understanding,
mm,
you can't go back from it.
I mean that, like we say, man. Once you ring the bell, it ain't no unringing the bell. It's
That's a
definitely
fact.
not
Yeah,
any unringing the bell.
most definitely.
And too, he got all that raw information right in front of him too. So it's like,
Oh yeah, oh
you
yeah.
know what I mean?
But the whole fact of the matter is that we all know Islam is the fastest growing religion in the world. Number one.
Mhm.
Number one. We can. I think pretty much anybody who has any inkling of research in that area knows that. So that's not something. But the fact of the matter is that it's a demographic of people that are accepting the deen of Islam, but yet and still, and from whatever perspective that they accept it from, the fact of the matter is, it's a lot of people in esteemed positions and people who would normally, in the eye of the public, have nothing, I mean nothing, to do with the image of Islam. They now proudly, acknowledge it and even court it in the public. I just find that completely interesting, especially being that I grew up in, from let's say mid '80s to now.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely growing and growing everywhere we turn. And that's a lot. That's a lot. It's a lot working.
Mm, really, yeah. Well, not only is it his work and it's his promise,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
and it's his promise, and we know, from our particular lockdowns, all events, there's no strange happenings. Therefore, Allah doesn't break any of his promises, any of his laws. So we, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I found that article, Mo.
You did. Oh, yeah.
It says King Charles III hosted Ramadan fasting meal for Muslims at Windsor Castle, St. George Hall, marking the first time the event was held in the state's apartments with over
Mm,
360 guests in
mm,
attendance.
mm,
mm,
The sale was put on by it says organized by the Ramadan Tent Project and the Royal Collection Trust.
mm.
mm.
On the Royal Collection Trust, they finna have a shindig.
It says was the first time Muslims broke their fast in the state apartments of Windsor Council.
Hmm.
See,
All right, Jan.
see, it's a lot. What's a lot of things going on that we, not saying necessarily saying that we're not privy to it because hell, I mean, I was blessed with the opportunity to. um, yeah, but
Mm.
pardon me. Oh, Trump hosted an iftar too. I mean, praise the Lord. I mean, hey, you know, praise Allah, and that definitely wouldn't surprise me that he would do something of the sort. But the
Yeah.
fact of the prestige of Prince Charles and the position that he holds within the confines of his society where he is and the political infrastructure, that was a very bold move in my humble opinion. So, brother Eric,
Yes,
can I
sir.
ask you a question? In our expression, our Moorish expression of Islam, the doctrine of Islam, why do you feel it necessary that ones continue to push a narrative that is evidently um not natural? Well, I ain't gonna say natural. Let me take those words back. Or not founded in certain positions of, or certain senses of the facts. Why do you feel like the narrative of you know so-called the Prophet Muhammad, the seal of the messengers, being the last prophet? What would you say that ones gain who propagate that?
Well, I mean, they gain mental slavery, man. They gain over the masses of the people,
Mm,
because they're not teaching people to be themselves. You
right.
know, um, that's one of the biggest lies you can promote to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't act to Allah. If you're talking about somebody that knows all, you can't. It's no secret.
Not at all. Even
You
the Holy
know
Quran teaches us that the heart of man lays naked before Allah. So, yes, sir.
exactly. So this is telling us, that the eye is faulty, man. What you see is not always
What
what
is?
it actually is. You know what I mean? How many times the eye failed you and you
All the
thought you
time.
saw something? How many times
All
you
the time.
thought you heard something? You know?
I
I
mean,
mean,
but you know
that's
what? In a sense of this physical manifest being an illusion, that means that they always fail you.
Yeah.
right,
If you're
right.
not, especially if you're not conscious as to how, you know, unless you're consciously aware of how this particular thing we have, the eyes and the ears and the lips, the tongue, and all of these things work. We know that they don't work in and of themselves. They have no power of their own. So, you know, you know, yeah, yeah, most definitely. And I find it interesting this though, you know, that in certain Islamic schools of thought, right, we have what is called negation, right? And most brothers and sisters of the faith say this statement quite often. They say, La ilaha illallah, right? La ilaha illallah means there is no God but Allah, right? However,
Mhm.
ones will not see past the statement for the truth. It's negation, then the affirmation. You have there is no God. Stop. But Allah or only Allah. There is no God, only Allah. And in the more scientific temple of America, we understand that man's ideal is God. Man's God
Definitely.
today, tomorrow is not God.
Right.
And as a man unfolds, his God unfolds. Now, when we look at the subject of unfolding and the progression of a particular thing, we know that Allah has neither one of those attributes. Allah does not progress. Allah does not advance. Allah is.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, everything that is a projection, or matter of fact, a projection or reality within the mind of Allah. So, in essence, there is only Allah, and
Correct.
that's what the Sufi masters have been demonstrating for years, but in centuries. But what predominantly they taught was the fact that you can experience these things. You know, it's not something
Well,
outside the grasp of the human consciousness. So I feel as though, you know, when we start to get to a point where we begin to place limitations on that which cannot be comprehended, I think we are now stepping outside of our own ability to use logic and reason.
Mm-hmm.
mhm.
You think about it. In all of the Islamic world, we continuously say Allah is the greatest. Allah is this. Allah is that. And all of these magnificent attributes, right? But yet and still, we'll make a statement and place a limitation on that which is perceived to have no limit. But yet and still say that in the semblance of truth and in the semblance of divine doctrine. What sense does it make?
Wow.
You know, so even in the essence of the question, you know, the Holy Quran says that to every nation we send a messenger who speaks the language of the people, telling them to paraphrase him, telling them to praise Allah and shun the devil, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now we know the thoughts of Allah, which is synonymous to the words of Allah, are from the everlasting to the never ending days to come, right? So that means his words and his thoughts cannot be circumscribed within a pocket of time called the first century. That was not a statement that was blanketed over one period of time, but a statement that is remains relevant in reality in every mark and milestone of time, right? So in essence, for one to say that there will be no prophets after Muhammad, you're telling me you know the will of Allah, you're in the
Mm-hmm.
mind of Allah, and you have basically said that your words circumscribe Allah's word.
You're the best of planning. He's not, huh?
Yes, and you're the best to know. And see, and this is a point that I feel like needs to be made because in the Islamic world, and I see this so much, and it disturbs me in certain points, is that I understand respecting scholars, right? But we cannot behave as if they're infallible.
Mm-hmm.
We
Right.
can't behave as if they are the end all and tell all of all that is in the mind of Allah.
Can't be.
So, though we use the scripture, though we use the revelation to measure our thoughts, to measure our thinking, yet and still we're measuring it by the words of Allah and not by the words of those who come Johnny so much later.
Correct. Correct.
In the semblance of truth, might I add.
Yeah, I think a lot of people get hung up on.
Personalities, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah.
people get hung up on personalities of different folks, and they run with that versus running with what the truth is. And now,
But we know the truth is light, right?
mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard the light can be too bright?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And this is why Islam is taught and disseminated in degrees.
You can't
Yeah.
digest all that at one time.
You know, so I just seen, have you ever heard the statement that we just need to take it back to the basics?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And in a lot of senses, we need to take it back to the basics of common sense and reasoning. Let's look at it like this. Why pro- in Islam we are taught that prophets are a mercy of Allah, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because Allah what guides whom he choose and allows those to stray whom he choose, right?
Mhm.
However, a prophet is sent when there's a crooked way in the progression of of humanity, right?
Right.
So that means, let's say, in a sense of the Prophet Muhammad, may peace and prayers and blessings be upon him, right? When we look at it, he was sent as a voice, as an avatar, as an archetypical entity
Mm-hmm.
to relay a truth to a people that have been laid and had been misguided, right? And in his mercy, Allah has guaranteed each nation of people, as he created humanity in nations and tribes, that we must get to know each other and not despise each other. But he has made the promise to send a messenger to each and every one of these nations, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for one to say that there is no more prophet to come, you are
Close that out.
denying the presence of a prophet to those who had not yet received one.
Right.
So in my humble opinion, and I'm not anyone, I'm not a scholar, right? However, when we get to the basic of understanding the mercy of Allah and understanding the mercy of Allah and any of his attributes cannot be circumscribed and confined in the illusion of time. How can we just place a limitation on that is?
Mm-hmm.
It
That's all the
baffles
world know, Mo.
it baffles me though, brother. It baffles me, like it completely baffles me. Like we'll, I mean, anybody who is in the Islamic diaspora, right? When we speak of Allah, we will say that it can't be comprehended. We'll say all these things, but then in the very next breath, say what He will not do and cannot do, as if we know His will.
Right.
And you can't tell me if you're gonna wake up out of your sleep tomorrow or not. Inshallah. And I think what the case is what we learn about in the Moorish Temple of America, Holy Koran, that one's raised themselves too high, bro.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's a fact.
that's just my measure, bro. I'm not gonna get the spit. I ain't even the guest. Brothers the guest. I apologize. I apologize. You know, every now and then I go on a tangent here
For sure.
and there. But again, we appreciate the dialogue because we have to begin to put these things in context, man. Because while the prophet told us that we was gonna have to take these things and straighten out our brothers and sisters in the east, bro, we can't continue to sit on our hands with it either.
That's the truth.
You know,
Exactly.
the prophet Noble Jew Ali has prepared us to be to be masters and scholars and authorities in the area of religion if we equip ourselves and do the due diligence as to what he left us.
Mm-hmm.
So, those are my comments. I truly appreciate you coming on tonight, brother, man. And I look
Yeah.
forward to you coming back, so we can deal with the rest of this surah or any other surahs that you would like to deal with, brother. Um,
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Anytime.
Let's Think podcast is always open to you. Um, Anybody that's in the listening audience, please hit the like button. Um, the Cash App, I'll post the Cash App right here. You can support through Cash App. You can support through Super Chat, Super Thanks, Super Sticker. I truly appreciate you. If anyone has, let me do this. Hold on. Before you go, brother, give it a couple minutes. I'm gonna do this. Here we go. And I don't do this every show. We'll do it right quick. The StreamYard link is in the chat. If anyone has any questions and want to have a brief dialogue with the brother as to what he demonstrated, the link is in the chat. We'll give you a few minutes before we all have to step off. It's getting a little late.
Yes.
So we'll give you, what is it? It's now 11:04. We'll give you to 11:09 for someone to hit the link. Maybe we can build for a quick second, and then we can call it a night.
It's long. But to count back on what you were saying, Mo, I feel like a lot of people just I think they look too deep into these lessons versus keeping it on the surface level.
Because sometimes you can get lost in the sauce, bro.
Facts.
You know?
Facts.
Yeah.
And see, it says in the Holy Koran that he who reaches the lowest depths ascertains to the highest heights, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in this example, or this dissemination, or this wisdom of polarity, in a sense, so you say, because we understand in the physical manifest world, everything operates in a sense of polarity, even your senses operate in a sense of polarity. So in understanding this, we understand that, without the basics, there is no height. Without the foundation, there is no height. Without you ascertaining to the basics, like in Sufism, right? You have Shariat, Marifat, and Hakikat, right? Islam, Iman, Hassan, right? This is an unfoldment, right?
Definitely.
No one walks, and at least you shouldn't. Now, I'm not going to say no one does it, because we got plenty of people who would be considered outside of the realm of intelligence. Okay?
Oh yeah.
So you shouldn't walk up on a ladder, right? And to begin to climb the ladder without using the first rung, at least, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you place yourself in the lane of basically immediate danger.
Mm-hmm.
So when we look at this, without the foundation, without the basics, and with an attempt to climb to a height that you basically can't ascertain to rightfully, you send yourself through a crash course of nothing.
Facts. Foundation is too shaky. Foundation too shaky.
And so I agree with you. In certain aspects, ones do raise it. They put their heads in the clouds without their feet being firmly set on solid ground.
100%. Because
You know, in the present Islamic world, I think that the present Islamic world, in certain senses, not all, but for the most part, and I say that strongly, is that they have begun to rely on so many sources of information as a tafsir that they forget the Quran
oh yeah.
completely. They forget the Quran. That's why we have the two concepts of, you have what is called a Qurani and a Hadithi. One
Yeah.
who follows strictly the Quran and rejects Hadith, and one who follows Hadith and barely even touches the Quran. You know, but as Moorish Americans, we understand the Holy Quran of Mecca to be the revealed word of God, and that is where we derive our power authority. So it should be of an interest to each and every Moorish American Muslim to study the Holy Koran of Mecca. Whether you learn the language of Arabic or not, at least get a basic, you know. Therefore, you have a foundation, the foundation in which the Prophet Noble Ali gave you, and you'll be able to disseminate truth from falsehood.
Right.
You know, a lot of us, and brother, and I'm gonna say this and close out. What is happening? A lot of people, let's say even those who profess to be Christians, right? A lot of their core beliefs are not even biblically sound. Where did they come from? And that goes for a large percent of the Muslim world right now. A lot of their a lot of a lot of their doctrines are not even Quranically sound. Where did they come from?
Yeah.
So we must begin to question the scholars. We're not infallible.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, I want to thank you, brother Eric, for coming on. Thank
That's
you, brother
all.
McGrail. You know it's always a pleasure, brother, man.
Oh
Definitely
yeah,
honor.
We
Always
got
a
a couple
pleasure.
more days of Ramadan left. Hold on to the rope. Hold on to the rope. But I'm finna go cheat right quick.
I
So
figured.
I got me some of that best bean pie. I'm gonna steal me a slice right quick.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I ain't gonna steal. I'm gonna just borrow it from the pan. I'm just borrow it from the pan. But yes, sir.
Oh man.
And like again, appreciate y'all. And let me leave a word with the listening audience. And listen to me. Never allow your intellect to be circumscribed. Listen to me. Never allow your intellect to be circumscribed and devoid of the divinity in which the law placed in you, for the sake of those who seek to have authority in matters in which they have no control. He, Allah, is one. Qul huwallahu ahad, Allah is samad, lam yulid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Say, He, Allah, is one. The only, the absolute. He begets not, nor is he begotten, and there's none like unto him. And I leave with in peace.
Islam.
Islam.
No.